said, very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, you know, I was like, oh, something's off.
And I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something, you know.
Get that crowd warmed up. Is Mr. Jehovah Tiger.
What's going on, guys? And welcome to another rendition of the Warcry podcast. I'm your host, obviously, Jehovah Tiger. And on this wonderful Monday lunchtime, noontime, is when this is being recorded live. I've been holding back. I've been holding back my real feelings. For all my Oklahoma Sooner fans, this episode of the podcast is for you. Live and in color. No, I'm just kidding. This is not, I'm going to say this, because it'll make its wave somewhere. Someone's going to hear this somewhere and be like, oh, Jehovah Tiger, the Warcry podcast said this about this person who covers Oklahoma football. I don't care. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care. I am a super fan of Oklahoma sports and Oklahoma football, you know, really specifically speaking. And 2024 came in. I thought we was going to be all right. I was pretty, I always laugh with my dad. I'm always like, this is the year, Dad. This is the year. We're going to make it. We're going to go far in this one. And it's absolutely hilarious that he has been burned so many times by the Sooners that he goes, all right, we'll see. And it's absolutely hilarious when I see him, and it was just like, man, we just kind of look at each other like, So for all my Oklahoma Sooner fans, I'm going to be cooking this team. We, everybody likes their steaks, about medium rare. If you're a psychopath like Dexter from the TV show, and you like to see a lot of like collagen or whatever that crap is called, glycerin, whatever that stuff is called, y'all gonna cook me for that. But anyways, if you like your steaks rare, all right, this is not the podcast for you. If you like your steaks medium rare, perfect. Just pink. We like that. This is not the podcast for you. If you like your steaks medium, this is not the podcast for you. If you like your steaks well done, overcooked, tough as like, it's like basically eating a shoe, this is the podcast for you. Talking about Oklahoma football. It's crazy that this season went the way it did. Like I mentioned before, I was so excited. I'm like, yes, okay, we got a quarterback, Jackson Arnold. You know, we got a backfield full of decent running backs. We got receivers. We got tall receivers. We got quick receivers. We got slot receivers. We got everybody. We got the special catch receivers, the Randy Moss type receivers. I'm like, all right, we're going to be good. The offensive line, there were some question marks, losing a bunch of people, a bunch of draft picks. But it is what it is. It happens. You just reload. As the season started, I'm like, all right, we beat the mess off Temple. Okay. I see what we see here. We cooking. We go into our next game against Tulane. I'm going to skip to Tulane. Be in mind, Tulane's not a bad team. They're actually a pretty decent team. We beat them. I was like, okay. But I'm going to tell y'all this. The road that the feelings I was having going into Tennessee. Y'all heard me on the podcast right before that game say that OU's going to win that game. And, man, y'all flame me. I had people DMing me talking crazy. You going to put money on it? Oh, no. I ain't putting no money on this team. You're crazy for that. There's, you know what? It's going to be a close one. I said it was going to be a close one, but I think OU's going to pull this out. The defense understands. Defense played against that type of offense, against Tennessee offense. Jeff Lebby is an offshoot of Heupel. He runs a lot of Heupel-like stuff. Our defense has seen that for almost 24 months at that point, maybe even longer than that, 36 months, whatever it is. And one thing that I said that offense is not going to be able to score on us. And I invited my parents over. It was a night game. It felt like old vibes. You know what I'm saying? Back in those Bob Stoop era days, where you just had that night game against Texas Tech, and you just rolling. You beating the brakes off them. And Jackson Arnold, man, God, it's sickening to hear him and see him play football. Another guy that I absolutely couldn't stand from this season was Bauer Sharp, number 10, the tight end. You want to talk about, okay, this guy came from Southeast. He was a decent player at Southeast. Everybody named Mama was talking about, Joe John knows what he sees in him. Joe John Finley is the tight end coach. Everybody knows what he sees in him. If he don't get his ass out of here, I'm so glad Bauer Sharp hit the transfer portal. I don't even care. I was like, he should have hit the portal mid-season. He should have put that little, with those kids, they'd be putting out the little graphic that says, I appreciate my time here at this university. With that being said, with my 3 years of eligibility, I'd like to say that I'd like to take my talents elsewhere. No, you should not have waited as long as you did, Bauer Sharp. You should have hit the portal after Tennessee. God knows you should have hit the portal after Alabama. We knew you should have hit the portal. But Jackson Arnold fumbled in that Tennessee game like 95 times. I never seen nobody just not want the rock like that. I couldn't even believe it. I'm sick thinking about it. But he fumbled, and he threw. He was just doing all types of Donald Duck goofy stuff, man. So you know what? They had to take him out. And they had to put in that freshman, Michael Hawkins Jr. Now, I'm going to get to my opinion about this transfer portal thing that's going on right now, that everybody's at 12:09 on this beautiful Monday. There's a player that entered the portal that OU's really wanting. But I'm just going to keep it a 1,000%. Michael Hawkins Jr. needs to be the starting quarterback for OU in 2025. Back to the Tennessee game. He comes in. This dude gave me literal flashbacks of Sam Bradford. If y'all OU fans or OSU fans, remember when Sam Bradford tried to dive into the end zone and they helicoptered his ass into the damn front row. That's what it gave me vibes of. I said, we're back. He's going to deliver. I mean, we ended up losing the game. But if Jackson Arnold hadn't turned over the ball 16 times, I'm being dramatic there, OU would have had a chance. But when you throw a true freshman in the middle of the season, he ain't really got what's going on. So after the Tennessee game, everybody's kind of looking around like, all right, who's to blame? Jackson Arnold. If you follow me on Twitter, I was flaming. I was cooking. Everybody used to call him Jackson effing Arnold. Nah, he just Jackson Arnold now. I wanted him to hit the portal after that night. But, I ate my words on that one. So we started looking around. Sooner Nation started looking around saying, who we going to blame? Who's going to blame for this horrific offense? I have never seen an offense in When y'all hear this back, y'all let me know in the comments. Oh, and by the way, like, share, subscribe, Patreon link, do your thing. People are jumping on the Patreon, which I appreciate. 2025 is going to be a big year for the Patreon. I got a few guests lined up. We're going to have a part 2 with Miss Rebecca. She's going to really have some heat. If y'all won't play around like that, she's got heat. She just couldn't say nothing because of her job, whatever. But she'll be back part 2, Patreon only. So you won't hear it anywhere else but Patreon. And then I'll be back with Mysterious Nocturnum. They were the guy out of Maine, Mr. Ryan Knights. He's bringing on his whole team this interview. So there'll be a lot of stories shared, but that'll be a Patreon only. Anyways, so the season is going along. I dang near about had a dang heart attack / what is it when someone has an aneurysm? That's what it is. I about had an aneurysm when Kip Lewis intercepted that ball from that quarterback from Auburn the very next game, and OU won after being dog cheeks for being 2 cheeks of the same ass bad against Auburn. Somehow won. And then we get to South Carolina. Oh, my God. I was thinking we had a chance. And then Michael Hawkins, being the freshman that he is, a bunch of turnovers. They were up 21-0 with literally 2 minutes into the game. I was just like, God damn, this season is freaking terrible. I'm letting out all my anger on this podcast, y'all. I'm sorry, but man, it was terrible. It was just terrible. So then we put Jackson Arnold back in, and Jackson did his thing. He did all right. He played decent. No turnovers, just playing. We come back in that game. If we hadn't turned the ball over in the game, that game would have been 12-9 with a chance to go down and tie. Anyways, I'm going to read the comments here. I got Pyromedics in here. He says, they find the hell out of us for stepping on the field too early. What did they do? Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that. He said they pay the players enough now. They need to make them sign contracts. Let's talk about NIL. They can change their mind up until they step into the first day of class. We'll get to that. We'll get to the NIL transfer portal. I'm by no means an expert in football, but I know if you do dumb stuff, you're going to lose. So we get to Missouri. And Jackson comes back in, has a great first half at Ole Miss, fumbled it away, interception. I was like, man, we back to Jackson Arnold. We get to Missouri. I'm going down the whole schedule, y'all. I'm going down the whole schedule. This fool had a chance to go down and tie the game. OU literally had a 7-point lead, and he fumbles. Gives it up. They go get a dang turnover touchdown or a defensive touchdown. They tied up. We end up losing. OU ends up losing. I'm just sick. I'm so sick, man, at this point. But then Alabama happens. OU is just playing terrible on offense. Joe John Finley was – and by the way, they fired Seth Luttrell, which thank God. He was awful. But I hate to say that because he's from Muskogee. He's a Muskogee rougher. Played fullback, national championship for OU. I hate to say it, but, man, he was booty cheeks. He's 2 cheeks of the same ass, man. But we get to Alabama. So there's a story that I've told before. I think I've told it on the podcast, but I had all my family was over on my dad's side, uncles, and I think my grandpa was there. He might have not been. I can't remember. But we had a little, it was a Sugar Bowl. Alabama 2014. Trevor Knight's the quarterback. We down 21 points, 16 points, some weird number, 17 points, whatever it is. And I'm so disgusted at OU. I'm like, man, I'm gonna take a nap. Middle of the game. I never done that before. Took a nap. I woke up, OU's up like 21 points. 42, it was like 42-21 or 45 something. 45-24. And I looked over at my dad, says, "Is this real? Is this for real?" And my dad started dying laughing. He's like, "No, yes, it's real. Like, they came back." And so I missed the whole part of that game because it's called a depression sleep. When you got to go to sleep mid-game, you know it's bad. You know it's bad. So Alabama this year, 2024, Jackson Arnold played his ass off. I ain't never seen nobody run the ball like him. It looked like he running with he knew the transfer portal was coming. He said, I'm gonna hit it, but I gotta go off. I gotta have a Trevor Knight-like game. And OU beat the dog mess out of Alabama. In which, speaking of Alabama, I'm so tired of people saying the teams with 3 losses should be in the 12-team playoff. Cut that mess out. OU was booty cheeks, dead in the water, ain't nothing going on, and y'all got beat 24-3. Y'all ain't in. I'm sorry. Y'all just not in. So we have that great win. OU has that excellent win against Alabama. And to all my Alabama fans who are listening, I told y'all. They cannot be. It don't matter. It don't matter where, when, how, why, or who, or because. OU is always going to beat Alabama. There is no ifs, ands, buts about it. So I'll let y'all know now. So if I got any Alabama fans out there listening to this, tell me in the comments why I'm wrong, or how I'm wrong, or why I'm wrong. Because it just is. It is what it is. OU ends up going to LSU the next week. Booty cheeks. We end the season 6-6. One thing that drives me absolutely nuts. College football to me is more fun to watch than the NFL. I only watch the NFL in snippets for my fantasy team. And right now, I'm losing. I'm about to be booted out the playoffs. So I ain't got no reason to watch. But college football and the way that it's headed with NIL, speaking specifically for Oklahoma football, I don't understand how how we can maintain this. A lot of these players who we're paying, who Oklahoma and all these colleges are paying NIL to, it don't make no sense. They're making more than the veteran minimum. And a lot of these guys are not even NFL caliber players. Speaking about the Alabama game, this is how booty cheeks this season is. There's like 25 seconds on the clock. OU fans storm the field. And we get fined. We get double fined. I just can't even believe it. That was NIL money y'all just threw away. But getting back to NIL, so if you're under a rock, all these players are jumping out, coming off their team and leaving their teams to jump into transfer portal. One thing that, I really don't feel bad for those guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't. People say, "Oh, well, best of wishes. I hope you land. I hope you find a team." If you're not on Oklahoma football, I don't care. And I hope we don't play you next year. Because if you leave OU to go to Oklahoma State, no disrespect. If you leave Oklahoma to go to Tulsa, no disrespect. If you leave Oklahoma, to go to Missouri, no disrespect. I'm hitting all y'all. Arkansas, no disrespect, but you're going to leave Oklahoma to go to those places to play more, and you're not even get drafted when you got all the NFL talent and experience of Oklahoma. I'm biased. But one thing that's driving me crazy about that is sometimes the rules of the way that they do things cause parity. And this is what the NCAA has always done. They've always done this. They opened up the portal before all the bowl games. So it gives the kids a decision. Okay, do I possibly have a chance to play in the 12-team playoff or a bowl game to get some film? Or do I jump in the portal and hope someone contacts me before? Because right now, nobody is really. I mean, yeah, you have people bidding. There's a lot of bidding wars going on out there. Oh, I think today just got offensive lineman out of Stanford, he's a good player. But you have kids jumping in the portal who are going to be playing for a national championship. I saw about 9 Georgia Bulldog players jump in the portal. Penn State's backup quarterback jumped in the portal because their starting quarterback's coming back in 2025. You got all these people jumping in the portal who are playing for a national title, have a chance to play for a national title. And some of it's because they ain't getting the money that they originally wanted. But one thing I do like about OU's approach is they have all the analytics people to tell you what your value is. So just because you're a freshman and you had a couple good games, or you had a good drive, or you had a good drive in the game, or you had 10 catches, 3 touchdowns, and 200 yards. Oh yeah, no, his projected values, 100,000. Like OU is not paying that. They're like, hey, this is what the market value is. This is what we have based on your production, and it's becoming what can you do for me now? And I don't really like that players can just jump. They can just transfer whenever. We're getting a lot of kids who are chasing bags every year. USC's defensive lineman Bear Alexander, he's jumped in the portal 6-7 times, come out the portal. I changed my mind. Crazy stat about that dude. I think he played with 4 different high school teams. So this dude was moving like, the season's over. All right, I'm moving. And he'd go to a different school. It's crazy how they're able to do those things. One thing too that's a little bit different with the NIL and stuff like that is now that we have signing day that just happened here a couple weeks ago or last week or whenever, and now these kids are able to basically sign these NILs, national letters of intent, and they don't mean nothing because they can transfer. So basically, they sign it, they get it in spring practice, and they're like, "Oh man, Coach Venables he's too tough on me. I don't know if I like it here. I don't know if I can. These workouts might not be enough for me, or man, these workouts are too hard." And so they can just transfer. So it doesn't really even matter. Well, especially in the spring portal. Now OU has lost a lot of players, and I'm gonna be quite honest with you. A lot of those players, I didn't really think they were that good. Now there's people out there. Like I said, I really don't mean a lot of disrespect to OU media, but like OU Insider, who has a guy at Oklahoma City. There was the captain guy, whatever, Matthew Blackwell. You got Sooner Scoop. You got John Williams. I can't think of his. We have all these insiders who are throughout this whole time. When they fired Seth Luttrell, OU's been looking for offensive coordinator. And I just find it so funny that like people on Twitter can find things out before they do, and then they see it and they're like, "Oh, breaking news!" And then these people that subscribe to these places are paying a couple $100 a year to get quote unquote insider information on on OU football. And literally just today, everybody was like, breaking news! This quarterback out of Washington State is planning to jump in the portal, and that's Ben Arbuckle. We're going to talk about Ben Arbuckle on the new offensive coordinator hire. I got a lot to say about that. But one thing that people basically trying to say that, this is breaking news, but like literally Washington State parents and players were leaking, or not really them, but the reporters, those local reporters up there broke that like yesterday because he sent out John Mateer, or however you say his name, Mateer, sent out a text to all his former teammates now, but teammates, that he was leaving. And so that was already breaking news yesterday. But you see, like OU Insider, not really Sooner Scoop as much because they're really journalists. I believe they're really journalists. But like the Cap guy, can't think of his name. Matthew Blackwell's he follows me on Twitter. Shout out, but there's some people out there that don't really like him. But whatever. I'm not neither here or there. But it's really those Sooners, those OU Insider guys. That just like they be taking stuff from Twitter sometimes, and I'm like, all right, that was what. Dang. But it's just crazy, the whole transfer portal thing and NIL. It just doesn't. I don't think it makes sense for the kids, but also too, like, you're in the middle of bowl prep, especially if you're in the playoffs, and you're like, I mean, I guess you probably have staff for that, especially like places like Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma. You got staffs, Alabama, Florida. You got staffs big enough to basically try to keep players and figure all that stuff out. But these smaller schools are getting ravaged. Let's see here. We got Oklahoma ain't it. Texas will win the national championship. They shouldn't have never started paying these kids. Dang, Florida's #1 fan is in here. No, I agree, though. I think Texas has a good chance to win the national championship. Man, the whole thing about Texas, though, is I think their best player, their best quarterback is on the bench right now. I don't know if I've seen Quinn Ewers throw too many interceptions to Oklahoma for me to be like, oh, okay, yeah, he can win them a national championship. I mean, he even did it against Washington last year. And I agree with the paying the kids, because man, it's just like in the NFL you can kind of get a judge of who is where and like who's on what tier pay, the contracts. Like you have a great idea. Like, for instance, Saquon Barkley and the Giants. Everyone in the league had him as a high grade in a certain pay level, and they said nah. And then he went to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's having a decent season. I have him on my fantasy team. He's doing his thing. But in college, it's like, they put you're able in some states to gamble on these kids, and I ain't gonna lie, I do. I put my few pennies down. I see what they do, but I follow certain players on certain teams, and I'm like, you're so up and down, and you're supposed to be like a superstar. You're supposed to be someone who's putting the team on your back. And man, you got 2 catches for 11 yards. I ain't gonna say no names, but to me, that's the problem: is paying the kids they're not worth what they think they are. Just because you got a million offers out when you jump in the portal, or you had you're a 5-star and you had a bunch of offers out of high school. It's college. It's different. It's a different game. But getting to the offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, to me, he is a Lane Kiffin type coach. He is a Lincoln Riley type coach. He sounds just like Lincoln Riley. That dude sounds just like Lincoln Riley. It almost made me sick when I heard him talking. He's a front runner. His teams get out to big leads. And then he plays the same type. There's no adjustment. I watched a few games from Washington State this past year, and because I had some money on the quarterback, and everybody's like, "Oh, he threw for 3,000 plus yards and ran for 1,000." But I'm looking at some of these highlights. He's running all over Portland State, San Diego State. He had a few highlights against Washington, but the teams that's the Lincoln Riley way. Is you lose the teams you're supposed to beat. And that's the problem. We don't need nobody like that. Brent Venables is already having trouble right now beating teams he's supposed to beat. And that's why I do not think this is a good hire. You're hiring from an 8-4 team, and literally the last game that he coached before OU hired him, he lost. His squad only scored 14 points against Wyoming. Wyoming. That's 2 cheeks of the same ass, both teams. How you lose to Wyoming? But we hired him. And I see everybody on OU Twitter, I see everybody all over the place saying, what a great hire. That is, man, that he's such an innovator. It's all about formations, all about personnel. It's all about, finding the right spot for guys. But I'm going to be honest with you. I watched some of them highlights. I'm like, all right, so he went 3 and out against Wyoming. Does Wyoming have anybody going pro? I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comments. Does Wyoming or does who else he lose? Oh, they almost lost to. I think it was New Mexico. They almost lost to. They was in a barn burner, 35-36 or whatever it was. No, none of them teams have NFL guys. And sometimes he does a little bit of that GT counter that we love, that Lincoln Riley GT counter that everybody loves. Kennedy Brooks, man, ate off that. But I don't know if we have anybody like Kennedy Brooks. And he wasn't the fastest. He just was a smart runner. He could see the hole and he went. Texas fans know him very well. Can't tackle him. But I don't know what's going on with OU football. Brent Venables, I said this on Twitter and I'm going to say it here. If this is a super risky hire with Ben Arbuckle. The defense is going to be fine. But Ben Arbuckle, if this does not do what he expects it to do, and OU goes 6-6 or 7-5, Brent Venables is gone. It'll be rest in peace to his era. And he was posed like Bud Wilkinson. He was posing like different people. I even bought my dad a shirt that said Bud, Bob, and Brent. I don't know. I have no faith. I've lost my OU faith. I catch myself, kind of hate tweeting some, not hate tweeting, but just being negative. Like I'm just like, man, I just don't see what everyone is seeing with this offensive coordinator hire, with basically not being able to get no transfer guys that we're losing guys to Texas Tech. It just don't make no sense. But let's see here. I got a comment here. I agree with you. Florida Gators #1 fan. I agree with you. If they don't get something right with this, Venables will be gone by this time next year. I know that he signed that big, and that's kind of a smart thing too on Joe C's part, Joe Castiglione. Why not sign a guy who you believe in, sign him to a big contract, so then when he doesn't do well, or if he doesn't do well, people can kind of you can kind of explain to people, oh, well, we gave him a big contract. We're gonna have to, it's a big buyout. We're gonna have to give him another year. It explains. It gives. And so I've worked in government and had to explain certain money things, and they're publicly funded, so he has to explain that money. Well, and so it's like, well, we don't want to give him that $50 million, whatever it is. I don't know if it's $50 million, but just that we don't want to give that buyout. So you have to explain that. And to us fans, we're like, no, fire him, get rid of him. But inside, you're like, man, that's too much money. We just can't pay that. And then I don't even know if our boosters or donors are even, got it like that. I'm sure they do. Let's see here. We're about to get out of here, guys. I just want to have a little short live stream today, but we beat Texas 17 out of 26 times since 2000. Let's see here. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. I thought Venables would have turned Oklahoma around. I'm originally from Oklahoma, Broken Arrow area, but I live in Florida now. I agree with you. I'm at this point now where, I even kind of put out a fire. Brent Venables, a very low key. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to shake out, but let me know what you guys think about OU football this season. What you think in the future. It's not looking good. I'm going to be honest with you. Defense is going to be fire. But I don't know. That quarterback from Washington State, his arm, I don't know. He's a good runner. He looks athletic. He's got pretty boy look to him. But we'll see. I appreciate everyone who has continued to support the podcast. You can find me on Twitter, Warcry Pod, TikTok, Warcry Pod. Patreon, Warcry Podcast. It's also in the link below. Like I said, I'll be having some spooky guests on here in the next couple weeks. I'll have a part 2 with Miss Rebecca, talking about all the spooky stuff she got going on at her work and, now. And then I'll have those guys from Maine talking about all their spooky stuff and also talking about their documentary as well. But I appreciate everyone who supports the podcast. If you have an encounter or a scary story, realwarcrypod@gmail.com. Once again, guys, appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one.